Hello everyone. Today I am going to give a presentation on CPU scheduling algorithms. Let's start with the overview. This presentation consists of basic concepts, the scheduling policies, scheduling criteria, and the scheduling algorithms. Let's start with the basic concepts. Now, what is the main objective of any multi-programming operating system? It is to keep the CPU utilized for the maximum time. And it is achieved through the CPU scheduler. Now, what the CPU scheduler exactly do is select the process in the memory which are ready to execute and allocate them to the CPU. Now, we will have a quick overview about the scheduling policies. There are two types of scheduling policies. One is non-primitive and second is the primitive. In non-primitive, once a process is allocated the CPU, it will not leave it unless the process terminates itself or the process has to wait for certain kind of I/O request. In case of primitive scheduling, operating system can force a process from a CPU at any time. Now let's have a quick review about the scheduling criteria. The various points are, first is the CPU utilization. Now, what is CPU utilization? It means to keep the CPU busy for the maximum time, and it should always be maximum. Second is the throughput. It indicates the number of process that completes in a certain unit of time. Again, it should be maximum. Third criteria is the turnaround time, which is amount of time to execute a particular process. It means the time when it was submitted till the time it got terminated. Again, it should be maximum. Fourth point is the waiting time. It is the amount of time the process keeps on waiting in a ready queue. Again, it should be minimum. The last point is the response time. This time is the amount of time taken when a request was submitted until the first response is produced. Please make a note, it is the first response produced and not the output. This response time should always be minimum. Now let's begin with the scheduling algorithms. There are 4 scheduling algorithms. First is the first come first serve, second is the shortest job first, third is the priority, and fourth is the round robin. We will be discussing these algorithms with examples. Now let us take an example of first come first serve. In this example, we have 3 processes P1, P2 and P3, and we are given a burst time of 24 seconds, 3 seconds and again 3 seconds. The burst time is given in unit time. It can be seconds, milliseconds or microseconds. Now, since the name indicates first come, first served, so the process which came first will be processed first. The next step is to draw the Gantt chart for these processes. Now, if we see the first process which came was P1. Now, P1 started at 0 seconds and the burst time was 24 seconds. So, P1 executed for 24 seconds, followed by the next process which was P2 for next 3 seconds and then P3 for another 3 seconds. Since it is non-primitive, so once a process is started, it will execute for its complete burst time. Now, next is calculating the waiting time. If we see in this Gantt chart, the wait time for P1 process is 0 second. It came at 0 second and it got started at 0 second. Now, second is P2. P2 process started at 24 seconds. So, the wait time is 24. And P3 started at 27. So, the wait time for P3 is 27. Now, we can easily calculate the average waiting time by adding them divided by the number of processes, which is 3. Now, in next example, the processes came in random order. First process which came was P2, then P3 and P1. Now, P2 Since P2 was the first process to come, so its wait time is 0. Next is P3. Now before we go to P3, we need to find the burst time for P2, which would be given to you, that is 3 seconds. So P2 executed for 3 seconds. Now next process is P3. The burst time of P3 is 3 seconds. So P3 started at 3 seconds and continued for another 3 seconds, which was still 6 seconds. And last process that came was P1, whose burst second is 24 seconds. So P1 started at 6 seconds, continued for 24 seconds and finished at 30 seconds. Let's quickly calculate the waiting time. Now P1, if we see P1 process, it started at 6 seconds. P2 process started at 0 seconds and P3 process started at 3 seconds. Once we have the wait time, we can easily calculate the average waiting time for all these processes. What are the advantages of first come first serve algorithm? Now this algorithm do not include any kind of complex logic. It is simply that the processes which come first are put into the queue and executed one by one. Since it is first come first serve, so all the processes get a chance to run. So there is no starvation occurring in this algorithm. Second is the disadvantage of first come first serve. Since there is no preemption, so if once a process is started, the CPU will execute that process until it ends. Now if the first process which started has the longest burst time or executes for a longer time, the shorter processes which are back in the queue have to wait. There is no other way that those processes can get executed. Till the time the first process gets executed and gets terminated, the other processes waiting in the queue has to keep on waiting. Now next algorithm is the shortest job first. Let's see the example. We have shortest job first. As the name indicates, the process with the shortest burst time will be executed first. Now we are given processes in the order of P1, P2 and P3. But since this is shortest job first, the process with the shortest burst time will be executed first. In the diagram, if we see, P2 has the shortest burst time, followed by P3 and then P1. So P2 started at 0 seconds and continued for 3 seconds since its burst time is 3. Next is P3, which started at 3 seconds and continued for 4 seconds. So P3 finished at 7 and then came P1, which executed for 7 seconds. Now wait time of P2 is 0 seconds, P3 is 3 seconds and P1 is 7 seconds. So average waiting time will be wait time of all the process divided by the number of processes. Now this is a normal shortest job first example. Second example that I am taking is shortest job first non-primitive. In this I have arrival time for all the processes. Now again P1 has a burst time of 7 seconds. Now here we need to consider the arrival time as well. At 0 second there was no other process except P1. Since it's non-primitive, that means once a process starts, it will complete its burst time. So at 0 second P1 process starts. The burst time of P1 is 7 seconds. So P1 continues for 7 seconds. Now till 7 seconds, if we see, rest all the processes which are P2, P3 and P4 were allocated to the processor because the arrival time of P2 was 2 seconds, P3 was 4 seconds and P4 was 5 seconds. So till 7 seconds all the processes were ready to execute. Now once P1 finishes, we will execute the rest of these processes in order of their burst time. If we see, P3 has the shortest burst time of 1 second. So next P3 got executed for 1 second. After that we have a choice of P2 and P4. Since P2 came earlier, its arrival time was at 2 seconds. So P2 got executed first. So P2 got executed for 4 seconds, which was till 12 seconds, and then the last process, which was P4, got executed. Now let's see the average waiting time. Since we have arrival time in this, here waiting time is a bit complicated. For P1, for waiting time, what we need to do is, when the process started and when they did arrive, we need to minus it. So P1 started at 0 second and arrived at 0 second. So wait time of P1 is 0. P3 process. Okay, if we see now, if we go into order, after P1 it was P2. P2 started at 8 seconds, but when did it arrive? At 2 seconds. So 8 minus 2 is 6. For P3, it started at 7 and arrived at 4. So 7 minus 4, 3. And for P4, it's 12 minus 5, 7. So we have the waiting time, we can calculate the average waiting time. Now, what are the advantages of shortest job first? Again, according to the definition, if we go by the definition, shortest process, the processes with shorter burst time are executed first, followed by the longer processes. So of course the throughput is increased because more processes can be executed in less amount of time. What are the disadvantages? The major disadvantages in shortest job time, since the processes are executed in the order of the burst time, the processor need to know the burst time beforehand. Second disadvantage is longer processes will always have to wait, which results in starvation. Next is the priority. Now in this algorithm, we execute the processes in order of the priority. We assume priority to be in ascending order. So the process with the lower priority number will be executed first in comparison with the process with higher priority number. Now in this example, if we see P2 has the highest priority, P2 is number 1, so P2 will be executed first. Its burst time is 1 second, so P2 got executed for 1 second. After that, it was P5 because it has a priority of 2. P5 got executed for 5 seconds, so 1 plus 5 is 6. Next is P1. P1 has a priority of 3, so it is the third process that needs to be executed, and the burst time is 10 seconds. So P1 got executed for 10 seconds, followed by the fourth priority number, which was P3 for 2 seconds, and at the last P4 for 1 second. Now the wait time, if we go by the order of the processes, P1 got started at 6 seconds, P2 at 0 second, P3 at 16, P4 at 18, and P5 at 1. We have the waiting time, we calculate the average waiting time. The advantage of priority is, in this, any process can be selected based on the memory requirement, time requirement, or user preference. So we assign the priority based on any of these 3 criteria and choose that process to be executed first. Now disadvantage, in primitive priority scheduling, always a higher priority process will execute first. So if a lower priority process keeps waiting for a higher priority, then starvation occurs. Last algorithm is the round robin, in which we have the processes and the burst time. Along with it, we have another thing, which is quantum time. Quantum time is the time for which processor will execute each process. Since here quantum time is 4 seconds, so processor will execute P1 for 4 seconds, then move to next process, execute it 4 seconds, then move to next process, execute it 4 seconds, and then go back to the first process again. Now if we see this example, the first process was P1, it got executed for 4 seconds, then it moved to P2 process. Here the quantum is 4, but the burst time is 3. So after 3 seconds, of course P2 will terminate. For that reason, P2 got executed only for 3 seconds, and then came the third process, P3, Again its burst time is 3, so it got executed for 3 seconds and got terminated. After completing P3, processor will shift back again to P1, execute it for 4 seconds and then go to P2, but since P2 is terminated, it goes to P3, it is also terminated, and so it goes back to P1. So after that, P1 process gets processed for 4 seconds till it get terminated. Now if we calculate the average waiting time for P1 process, the waiting time will be P1 started at 0 seconds. After that, the second instance of P1 occurred at 10 seconds. Here if we see, P1 started at 10 seconds, but it got finished at 4 seconds. So the waiting time is 0 plus 10 minus 4, which is 6 seconds. For P2, it got started at 4 seconds. For P3, it got started at 7 seconds. We have the wait time for all, we calculate the average waiting time. Now what are the advantages? In round robin, each process is served by the processor for a fixed time, which is called as quantum. So all processes are given same priority. Second advantage is starvation will never occur because each process is given fixed time to execute. So no process is left behind, all the processes are occurred, so there is no starvation. What is the major disadvantage? The major disadvantage is setting the quantum time. We cannot set the quantum time too short or we cannot set the quantum time too long because both has its own disadvantages. If we set the quantum too short, it will increase the overhead and reduce the efficiency, and if we set the quantum time too long, it will result in poor response to short processes. With this, we finish the presentation. Thank you so much.